Hello, good afternoon. How are we doing? I am Lauren Brown with Neptune Moons. I am a screenwriter, producer, tarot reader, and astrologer. Um, I gotta, I gotta pin this wild hair. I think that's okay. Um, Hello, good morning. Not good morning, good afternoon. It is after 12 o'clock, so it is afternoon. How are we doing? Did we have a good weekend? I know yesterday I did a pick a card and not one of these. I need to get back into the habit of this, but yeah. Anyway, how are we doing? I was thinking, I've been thinking a couple weeks now about advice that I saw a long time ago that really gave me an aha moment. And it was a guy talking about how his therapist, in response to him thinking about the worst case scenarios and going over um, the worst possible outcomes of the situation in his head, vocalizing it to his therapist, the therapist said, what would happen if it all worked out? Meaning, um, we've thought of all of these possibilities, right? All of these different timelines, how it could go wrong. And that's part of our human instinct, part of our human survival, um, part of how we survive, right? Is we have to sort of predict, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, right? But we often forget to hope for the best. But we damn sure make sure that we prepare for the worst, right? So, thinking about all of these crazy scenarios, 90% of which will never happen, right? So we've just wasted this like worry and anxiety when we could think of like what would happen if things go right, right? Which is like oftentimes the last thing we consider. So I go back to that piece of advice a lot of times whenever I am sort of spiraling into this, doom, pit of doom. But I have been thinking over the past few weeks, looking at it in a different way, meaning in the past, and I also want to say that I've had some insecurities creep up. If you watched my pick a card reading on yesterday, you may have listened to the intro on insecurities and all of these planets in Aquarius. I was going to do a new moon reading for you guys. But I was just so weighed down with these old ass insecurities. And these are like insecurities I've had in childhood. And astrologically speaking, Saturn can point to our insecurities. So it was definitely placements hitting my Saturn, my natal Saturn. And I have natal Saturn in the 11th house. The 11th house is your friendship groups, your the larger humanity at large, right? And so whenever we have Saturn there, it can indicate a person who is a lone wolf, kind of an outcast. And I have mentioned it on here before, but I think I have an ability to make friends and be like relatively likable, but having like a deep connection with a BFF or, feeling like I belong in some sort of friend group is uncommon for me. And there were some events in childhood that led to these insecurities. They were like learning experiences that um, compiled into insecurities. So while I did learn a lot from them, it does sort of put me in a place sometimes where I'm very cautious when it comes to friends, and I still get that insecurity like, no one likes me, I'm a burden to others, like I just offend everyone. And so I was thinking about the advice on what would happen if it all worked out, but thinking about it in a different way as far as all of the things that all of those learning lessons that happened in the past, a lot of them had to do with like gossip, jealous friends. I had guy friends growing up, so um, there were some of my girlfriends who would get jealous over our connection, thinking like we liked each other more than we actually did. So that caused a lot of problems, and maybe they were jealous for other reasons too. But I internalized that a lot as just me being a loser. I mean, I'm sure like wherever you have Saturn, that can show you your insecurities, but we all have insecurities, right? So it's not like I'm like uh, the only one. But I was thinking about the advice of what if it all worked out? Like, what if I never experienced that adversity in childhood? What if I never experienced like getting bullied or my friends turning against me and having to like eat lunch in a bathroom stall and stuff like that? And I've bounced back from those situations. Like I said, I have some good placements in the 11th house, so it's I feel like I am. I've also had harshness in that area. It's a mixed bag, right? But I was thinking if I had never had those experiences, where would I be now? And I think if I were popular, if I had a friendship group where I felt like I belonged, and this is just like growing up, right? Thinking about the past stuff that has created my reality right now. If I were popular, if I got along with all of my friends, if I were the queen bee of my friends, if I, never had gossip or slander happen to me, never had betrayal, never had friends sleeping with boyfriends, never had any of this ish going on, where would I be? And I think that I would probably be an asshole of a person. I also think I would be more inauthentic than I am now because there were a few instances in childhood where I was like, I mean, I am kind of a weird person. I have Uranus in the 12th house, so it's close to my ascendant. I'm a weird person. I embrace it now. I wanted to be like everyone else growing up, but I'm kind of a weird person. and, so, that weirdness is part of my authenticity, right? So if I had been truly accepted by my friends, there were times when they would sort of clip me out of groups, and I had experienced something similar recently, and I understand it on a higher level, but I am human. It is sad. But had I not been clipped out of those groups, it's like whenever I was young, those hard situations would happen. And I would be forced to eat alone in the bathroom stall. But that experience tested me in my willingness to compromise who I was. So I could have very easily changed myself for the group or, begged on my knees to be accepted. But I sat in the uncomfortableness of not being part of the group for the sake of being myself, right? So I feel like I have those experiences led to a certain amount of authenticity within myself to where I'm just going to be myself and you can accept me or not. I'm not going to say that it's it doesn't hurt whenever I'm not accepted by groups. But at the same time, um, there is a pride that I can feel whenever I haven't compromised myself, and I can see other people compromising themselves just to fit into this group, or believing certain opinions, so they won't be cast out of the group, right? So I know that my opinions are my own, and I know that I'm sort of unshakable in sort of the peer pressure that everyone else experiences. Not perfect, but yeah, I'm just proud of myself for that. Also, I think I have been reminded, I've had these memories of the past times when I wasn't such a good friend, when I was kind of a bully, when, I told lies, I gossiped, this, that, and the other, right? So, my, I have a saying that says, scarcity gives me an appreciation for things other people take for granted, right? So, the scarcity of not feeling accepted gives me a real appreciation for the times when I am accepted, right? And thinking back on those times when I wasn't such a good friend either, having a contrast to those experiences where I was the one left out, I feel like really shaped me in being a better friend than I would have been had I been given those relationships so easily, right? Then I had been given those friendships so easily. I might have taken for granted those friendships. I probably would have, right? I say right, but those hard lessons made me a better person, I think. So, if it all went the way I wanted it to, where, I was accepted by my friends, then I think I wouldn't have that understanding of what it's like to not be accepted by my friends, and would have continued those habits of others, right? And the same applies to love relationships. Not having the traditional experiences that people go through, someone to spend Christmas with, changing your Facebook status, what else? I don't know what couples do. Such a foreign concept to me at this point. But had I had that, I see, hear, experience people every day not appreciating their partners, not appreciating the people who love them, and it always reminds me that having that contrast of not experiencing that day-to-day thing gives me a deeper appreciation for when I get to finally experience those things. So, if it had all worked out the way I wanted, I think it would be very similar, that I wouldn't appreciate love as much. I wouldn't, I would be I don't think I'd be a worse partner, because actually Libra, that's sort of our natural state. I think I've always been a pretty good partner. But if everything had worked out the way I wanted, if I would have hooked up with the crushes that I wanted, then I think my sense of self would have dissolved. Just growing up, now I have a better way of sort of separating my individuality from the relationship, not being so codependent. But as a young person, I probably would have gotten lost in a lot of relationships, might have gotten knocked up early. became bitter about love earlier, played games because, not experiencing what other people experience and just watching them like bounce from one partner to another, it does kind of seem like a game to a lot of people sometimes. And it's just never been that for me. So, but it hasn't been that way for me because I always lose that game, right? I lose that game a lot. I'm not going to say always, but I lose that game a lot. So it's like I've had to think about these connections in a different way. Like it forced me to think about connections in a different way rather than just, playing these games to get the guy and ring, get the, I don't know, baby, whatever. And, I am grateful that contrast, I'm just grateful for the contrast. If I had gotten my way with all the guys that I liked, if it was just easy for me to snap my fingers and get a guy, then, like I said, probably would have got knocked up, wouldn't have been able to pursue my dreams. Hold on one second. Lost my sense of self. But I recently in the last few weeks, I've looked back on my love experiences and thought about how silly and ridiculous they are. And I've been binging The New Girl, so I think I might write a spec for The New Girl with all of my like dating experiences. But like I have actually thought to myself this past week, like, should I get all of my like love experiences copyrighted, because I have a lot of material. I was going through my memories, and guys, my first date was with a guy named Squid. Like, Lauren, what the hell? Squid? Like, if things worked out in my favor, I could have been married to a guy named Squid right now. Squid. So, yes, I'm very grateful because, like, a lot of the past experiences I look at, like, I dodged a bullet, but they gave me material. Like, I have material now. I could put that in a New Girl spec. I could put the time that a guy broke up with me because I voted for Obama in a spec. I could put the time that I ran off from a party and got a date by hitchhiking. Think he was a serial killer. Pretty sure he was a serial killer. But all of these crazy experiences, it's like, I've just been thinking about how wacky some of my experiences have been. And I got to see one friend. I didn't go crazy in Oklahoma, guys, but I got to see one friend whenever I was back home in December. And there was this one memory that just like zapped in my brain. Until you tell these stories, it's like I didn't really, like, until you like say these things out loud, it's like I forgot how like fantastical and like strange that story was. So yeah, I'm grateful for the experiences, for the material, and of course, like I the relationships that were really close to me, really important to me. I don't really want to exploit that for material, right? Twin flame relationship, right? I don't want to exploit it. But at the same time, going through my past recently, I can write any episode because of all the like love experiences that I've had. Like third party situations, Grey's Anatomy, I've lived that. Grey's Anatomy third party thing. So I can share that with the world, right? I can like relate, and just really grateful that I had those experiences, as awful as they may be, because they um, they gave me an understanding of what those plot points are actually like, right? Um, but yeah. Anyway, hope that was helpful if you are going through a rough time. I just like, I was annoyed by myself, guys, because I've been like high vibe, and so I was just like angry that like I thought we went over this. Like, why are you being an asshole to yourself? Because I was really an asshole to myself last week, and it was the same dumb, like, repeated negative self-talk that I know is over and done with. Like, but maybe it's muscle memory. I don't know. I've also myself like, why am I holding on to these like asshole things that I tell myself, you know? Um, but I guess it was a harsh square, right? I have Scorpio in the 11th house, and then my Aquarius placements. And then the Aquarius transits were really hitting my 11th house placements bad and re-triggering old issues. But glad I remembered that old piece of advice so that I can work through these issues. I don't know why we treat ourselves so poorly. Like, if a friend talked to me, to someone, wait, if someone talked to a friend of mine the way I talk to myself sometimes, I would kick their ass. Like, I would beat you down for some of the things I tell my own self. You know, like, why do we treat ourselves like that? Anyway, and I know, like, those experiences in childhood, like, they're over and done with. And it's funny because on my, like, darkest day when I was, like, feeling the worst about myself, I pushed through that anxiety and reached out to a couple of friends, and like it was a good chat. I love them so much, and like I don't know why I was such an asshole. But I have just been carrying those early experiences around unnecessarily, right? So, but it did pivot me to reach out to friends. So, you know, they're helpful. The hard lessons are helpful as well. Anyway, love you guys. I will see you tomorrow. I really do the like, share, comment, and subscribe in these videos. So I'll see you tomorrow. I love you. Bye.